taken care of here. Time to head into the base. Okay. More people who have to die for being with these sickos. What the hell are those things, I have to ask. Okay, are there any more people on the outside? Answer, yes. Now we have to kill these things. They don't think we want to be leaving any of Cerberus' experiments around for future use. Thorian Creeper. There was no sign of Kahoku among the creeper corpses. He must be at one of the other labs in the area.
Wonder what kind of genetic mutant Cerberus has been cooking up at the next base.
Who knows?
I think we're good, Shepard.
Wait, what? Admiral Kahoku is at one of these places? When did we find that out? I thought he just went into hiding or something. Isn't that what he said on the recording? Maybe we're assuming. I don't know. But yeah, it's time for us to head to the last base. We've kicked the door in of Cerberus' house. Now it's time to finish the job. Of forcing them to evacuate all their bases and go into hiding even further. As the more in hiding they are, the less they can actually do. And yeah, I do know what those creepers are, but I'm not going to say it because it's somewhat spoilerish. I'll just say this. That part of the mission would have probably made more sense if I'd done it after finishing the Pharaoh's quest. But I wanted to do this first, as Shepard found out about it really recently, and she would consider it a priority since it was a recent thing, whereas if Pharaoh's had been going on for a while and there wasn't any news of something serious going on, they could afford to wait a little while. Whereas the base of what she considered to be a terrorist organization was a more immediate threat and therefore demanded a more immediate response. So now it's time to deal with this last base. Why hello, Cerberus peoples. I'm afraid you have to die.
Go, go, go! Go, go, go!
Dear. We is hurting. We is hurting real bad. And for the moment, I'm going to have to stand here. Okay, we're healed up. Let's kill these mofos.
You must die!
We leveled up again. And it looks like there's Rachni babies in there.
One last stop to make, Commander. We owe Kahoku that much.
No, actually
got 'em all,
there
Shepard.
isn't. Oh dear. And Rear Admiral Kahoku's body. This is not good. You check for a pulse but find none. Admiral Kahoku is dead. Despite the ferocity of the creatures he was sealed in with, there are no signs of trauma on his corpse. The needle marks on his arm suggest a different means of execution.
Damn.
Cerberus, you
Cerberus
assholes. We are going to be having words with them, I think. And that gives us a new quest. Hades Dogs. Cerberus has been conducting illegal genetic research in an effort to create an unstoppable army. You found Kahoku dead in one of their bases, and now you are the only one who can stop them. And we have also found the location of a major Cerberus facility in the Columbia system of the Voyager cluster, which we probably found on Kahoku's body. I imagine he located into that base before he was killed. And we found the data pad on his body. And that would seem to be the most reasonable explanation. So, we're going to pull back to the Normandy. But we're not going to go to do that Hades Dogs mission immediately. We're going to go down and see if we can't talk to a couple members of the crew. It has been a while. And it would be interesting to see if there's something else we can chat about. Specifically Caden. I'll finish that sentence once the loading screen's done, which it just did. And we appear to have leveled up again. Two more in Shock Trooper. As I was saying, we especially want to talk to Caden because Melinda Shepard is rather interested in him in a certain way.
You have some time to talk now, Commander.
Of course.
Of course. Have a seat.
We've played it pretty close to the book so far, but we're a long way from backup. We've got some tough calls to make. I'm just saying, try to leave yourself a way out. I've seen what cutting corners can do, and I'd hate to have that happen to you, Shepard. Commander.
How informal of you.
That's not the appropriate way to address your commanding officer, Lieutenant.
Sorry, ma'am. Maybe I got a bad signal. And if you're a... maybe there's someone else you'd rather confide in. Ma'am.
Who would you be referring to?
All right, Alenko. Off the record, permission to speak candidly, cross my heart and hope to die. What are you talking about?
Dr. Tassoni.
You're joking, right?
There's a lower deck rumor that she's, interested in you as more than a source of Prothean data. She's a very interesting lady. To my, tastes, but, I never claimed to be big on alien culture.
Oh, I'm not interested in her. Don't worry.
Relationship with Dr. Tassoni is professional.
All right, only a rumor. But you don't have to spend your off-duty time with me. Not if you don't want to.
Look, there's nothing between Liara and me. What's the real issue here, Caden?
You're right. Sorry, it wasn't, Liara's not my main concern. I'm not questioning any decision you made, Shepard.
Sorry,
Let me be
that
clear about it.
first
Because
selection,
my
I wasn't
experience
really
is once someone lets something
expecting
slide,
it to
it's
say
at
that.
speed. You get my meaning?
I'm taking you have a little bad experience. It's on that point.
Talk to me, Caden. You got a little black rain cloud sitting over your head.
I'll try to keep the deck dry.
Funny.
You know the records about the biotic trading out on Jump Zero? They're all classified because the Alliance made mistakes. After first contact, Kinetics was set up to track Element Zero exposures and develop implants for humans. Once we had an embassy on the Citadel, Kinetics could bring in experts instead of taking it slow.
Note the quotations. Experts, huh?
The only experts would have to be aliens.
Dead on. Turians, actually. That's why Kinetics kept it a secret. They were afraid of what people back home would think, asking the Turians for help when we just fought a war with them.
The Turians and not the Asari. Explain that to me.
The Asari would have been more acceptable than the Turians.
Yes, but the company didn't go through the Citadel. It would have made Earth look weak, so they discreetly hired some Turian mercenaries.
Wonderful. And I'm not gonna ask why couldn't we do it alone. Shepard has biotic training. She knows how hard it was for us to get started. That's pretty much common knowledge by this point, I'd figure, so I'm not going to ask it. That they probably meant well, even if things didn't turn out so well.
I'm sure Kinetics did what they thought was best.
It wasn't best for us. They brought in an ex-military Turian named Commander Vernus. To introduce himself, he had to say, I was at the helm of the dreadnought that killed your father.
So he's like a Turian version of Blackbeard.
He retired to Vancouver. My family had an inland home that matured to new beachfront. Vernus had it in for me after that. He cut corners, pushed hard. I mean, you either came out a Superman or a wreck. A lot of kids snapped. A few died.
Wow, what a
Point of all
dick.
this is that when you cut corners, it's not always obvious who pays for it.
And why are you telling me this?
So why are you telling me this? Is there something I can do to help you get over it?
I'm 32, Shepard. You don't serve as long as I have without coming to terms with yourself. You also learn that if someone is special to you, you help them. Try to keep them from making mistakes.
Ho ho.
Special, huh?
If I'm out of line, just say the word.
Oh, you're definitely not out of line. Don't worry about it.
You're not out of line, Caden. But there are regs.
Unfortunately.
I don't make a habit of complicating the chain of command. Just think about what I said.
Okay. See ya.
We'll talk later, Caden.
I'd like that.
Indeed. Now let's go chat with Liara, and that was a little awkward. Didn't mean my first statement to come out like that. The hazards of having something written there that you're gonna say, you don't know exactly what's gonna be said.
If you are here to talk about Benezia's death, you need not bother. She brought it upon herself.
You don't feel bad about it? I'm surprised.
Don't pretend it doesn't bother you. She was your mother.
She was. But she was not. I prefer to remember Benezia as she used to be, before she was corrupted by Sovereign's power.
Yes, well... to use a somewhat cliched statement, she's still with you. In some form or another.
The best of your mother lives on in you. Her determination, her intelligence, her strength.
Kind of sappy, but there you go.
That is kind of you to say. I appreciate your concern, but I am fine. Benezia chose her path, just as I have chosen mine. I am with you until the end, Shepard.
Okay, is there anything else you'd like to tell me about yourself?
Maybe we could pick up where we left off. You were telling me about your interest in the pro...
Actually, I think I was talking about
Audio
my interest
cut off
in
alert.
you, and making a fool of myself in the process. As I said, I am not used to dealing with people, especially humans. I did not really know much about your species when we first met, Shepard. I found it hard to take humanity seriously. Your kind always seemed so rushed and high-strung.
We are short-lived compared to the Asari, you know.
We don't have the luxury of time. An Asari can live for 1,000 years. We're lucky if we hit 150.
Yeah.
That is true. At first I
Bit
thought that
longer
was a
than
weakness of
nowadays,
species.
though, isn't
After
it?
spending time with you and your crew, however, I think it may actually be an advantage. You humans are creatures of action. You pursue your goals with an almost indomitable determination. It is an admirable trait, but also an intimidating one.
Intimidating?
You're scared of us?
Unfortunately, the rest of the galaxy sees humanity as something of a bully. You run over anyone in your path to get what you want. It is up to people like you to change their minds, Shepard.
Trying, but that kind of stuff takes time.
I'm doing the best I can, Liara.
There is a reason the Council chose you to become a Spectre. They saw something special in you. The best of what humanity has to offer. I looked into your history. I know what you did on Torfin. I cannot even imagine how horrible that must have been, but you did what had to be done.
You could have just asked. I would have told you. Not that that's the kind of thing I enjoy talking about, but... you know.
You didn't need to go behind my back. I would have told you whatever you wanted to know.
I apologize, Commander. After our last conversation, I was afraid I would say something stupid again.
Fair enough, I
I
guess.
wanted to know more about you. To understand what made you into the woman you are. There is something compelling about you, Shepard.
Are you sure you're interested in me? Or is it my visions of the Protheans?
I admit, your connection to the Protheans had something to do with my initial interest, but it has grown beyond that. You intrigue me, Shepard, but I was not sure if it was appropriate to act on my feelings. I thought there might already be a relationship between you and Lieutenant Alenko.
You're right to a certain degree.
I care about Caden. A lot.
I thought so. Still, I feel as if there is also some attraction between us, Shepard.
Sorry, Liara, I like you, but not in that way. I really just want to be friends.
I'm not interested in you in that way, Liara.
This is very embarrassing for me, Commander. Please, let's talk about something else.
Alright, I'll see you later then.
I should go.
Goodbye, Commander.
Yes, indeed. That was a bit awkward. For both of them, I imagine. So we'll talk to a few people down here and sell some of the stuff we have, so we can empty out our inventory. In that order, too. Garrus, hello.
Commander, good to see you.
Alright, time to ask personal questions, I guess.
You've been with CSEC a while. Have you seen much action?
Well, not as much as you, but yeah, I've seen some interesting things.
I bet you have. Anything in particular that stands out?
I remember this Solarian geneticist I was sent to investigate. That case was a bit disturbing.
In what way?
What happened? Why were you investigating him?
I was tasked with tracking black market trade on the Citadel. Most of it harmless, nothing I needed to pursue. But during the course of my investigation, I noticed an increase in the trade of body parts, organs mostly.
That's kind of
Usually get a few
disturbing.
reports, but not the numbers I was seeing. We weren't sure if there was a new black market lab or if some freak was harvesting organs from citizens.
From citizens. You're serious. That happened.
You've seen this before on the Citadel?
Every so often, some lab sells unwanted parts through the black market, but they're not as bad as the psychos. I remember this one L-Corps diplomat we caught in my first year on the job. He was hacking people up and selling their organs. Had to station in a bit of a pen.
That's a bit disturbing, to be honest.
Turns out there was more going on than we first realized.
Okay. Well, what did you find?
So how did you figure out what was happening?
First, we got a hold of a sample and ran DNA tests. The weird thing was, the match led us to a Turian who was still alive and was very convinced he'd never lost his liver. After a bit of digging, I discovered this Turian worked briefly for Dr. Salion, the geneticist. So I went to his lab hoping to find evidence of cloned organ development. But there was nothing. No Solarian hearts, no Turian livers, not one Krogan testicle.
Krogan testicles. Please tell me that's a joke.
You're kidding, right? Why would anyone want Krogan testicles?
Some Krogan believe that testicle transplants can increase their virility, counteract the effects of the genophage. It doesn't work, but that doesn't stop them from buying. They'll pay up to 10,000 credits each. That's 40,000 for a full set.
What? So apparently Krogan have...
Killing out there.
Apparently the Krogan have 4 testicles. That's kind of disturbing to think about. Now, about this doctor.
What'd you do about the geneticist?
I brought in some of his employees for interrogation to see if I could get them to talk. While I was interviewing one of them, I came across something suspicious.
And what would that be?
Yeah? Go on.
One of my detainees started bleeding profusely during the interview. We offered to patch him up, and he got frantic, freaked out. I ordered a full exam to find out what was going on. Our medics found incisions all over his body, some of them fresh. That was our big break. These people weren't just Dr. Salion's employees. They were test tubes. Walking, living test tubes.
Yeah, that is just sick.
He was growing parts inside these people?
Exactly. He cloned their organs right inside their own bodies. Then he harvested them and sold them off. Most of the victims were poor. He'd pay them each a small percentage of the sales, but only if the organs were good. Sometimes the organ wouldn't grow properly, so he'd just leave it in. Most of them were a mess, but only on the inside, hidden so nobody could see it.
Yeah. That guy sounds like a real piece of work.
I hope he got what he deserved.
That's the worst part. We never caught him.
Why not? What the hell happened?
He ran, blew his lab, grabbed some of his employees, and headed for the nearest space dock. By the time I found out, his ship was already leaving. He threatened to kill his hostages if we tried to stop him.
You're serious. CSEC just let him go.
But you went after him anyway, right?
I ordered Citadel Defense to shoot him down, but